This is the year's most affordable Redmi phone so far, the Redmi 12. It's an entry-level phone, so it probably wouldn't blow you away, but is there enough going on here to be worth a buy? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our Redmi 12 review. With the Redmi 12, we finally have a successor to 2021's Redmi 10. Redmi took a year off with this series. But even after so much time, not a lot has changed. What's new here is a larger display and a revamped design. The camera setup looks a lot more elegant and less cluttered, and rather than a plastic back, this one is made from glass. Both the back and the plastic frame are flat, and while this phone is a bit heavier than the Redmi 10, it feels solid in the hand. Another new development is ingress protection, rated at IP53. At 6.79 inches, the LCD display is noticeably larger than the Redmi 10's, and it has a 1080p resolution and a 90Hz refresh rate. The display's brightness is okay for the price range, maxing out at around 540 nits. There's no boost in auto mode, and the auto brightness itself isn't very reliable. It seems that the phone lacks a light sensor and uses the selfie cam to manage it. And besides that, you're also missing a hardware proximity sensor, which can cause issues with accidental touches during voice calls. Back to the display though. It has good sharpness, looks decent, and has plenty of contrast considering it's an LCD, not an OLED. The color accuracy is actually not too bad either, and you have color options to tweak them with. The screen's 90Hz refresh rate helps smooth out your swiping and scrolling. It's adaptive too, dialing down when you stop interacting with the screen to save energy. There is actually one notable downgrade on the Redmi 12 compared to the previous model. Instead of stereo speakers, you have just a single one here. The loudness is just average, and the sound quality is nothing special. If you'd like to hear for yourself and compare, you can check out the provided link. The Redmi 12 has a 3.5mm jack too if you'd rather plug in headphones. You can wake up and unlock the phone using the reliable side-mounted fingerprint reader built into the power button. And the Redmi 12 comes with either 128 or 256 gigs of storage on board, and that's expandable further through microSD. The interface of the Redmi 12 is Xiaomi's MIUI 14 based on Android 13. It's pretty much the same UI you'd get on any Xiaomi phone. Xiaomi does promise support for 2 years of OS updates and 4 years of security patches here, which is nice to have. If you'd like to learn more about the software experience, you can check out our dedicated video about MIUI 14. Unfortunately, even though a couple of years have passed, the Redmi 12 brings the same chipset that the previous model did, a MediaTek Helio G88. This wasn't a very impressive chipset even back when it was new, and nowadays it falls even further behind competitors. For about the same price, you'll find phones which are both more powerful and more power efficient. And there's no support for 5G connectivity here either. The Redmi 12's battery life is good, but not quite as good as some other phones with a 5000 mAh battery, with an overall endurance rating of 117 hours. And the Redmi 12 supports 18-watt charging, but doesn't include a charger in the box. We clocked the charging times and we got from 0 to 29% in half an hour. That's hardly fast, but it is on par with the entry-level competition. Now we have the cameras. There's a 50-megapixel main cam, an 8-megapixel ultrawide, and a 2-megapixel macro cam, just like the Redmi 10. But this time around, you're missing a depth sensor. That's not all that's different. Xiaomi has done a much better job here when it comes to the camera's processing, at least in good lighting. The 12.5-megapixel photos from the main cam have plenty of detail and are decently sharp, with good contrast, punchy colors, and wide dynamic range. Portraits are okay, with decent subject separation. However, the subjects don't seem as sharp or detailed as in the regular photos. In low light conditions, the Redmi 12 won't automatically use night mode processing. The photos you get by default are lacking fine detail. The dynamic range is limited too, with clipped highlights. If you turn on night mode, it takes some time to take a single photo. Noise gets even more prominent while the detail is smeared, and the dynamic range still isn't that wide. The Redmi 12 can only shoot videos in 1080p resolution. The main cam's footage is just average in quality. It's a bit soft, and the exposure is on the bright side, leading to clipped highlights. Now let's talk about the ultrawide cam. During the day, its photos have good contrast and punchy colors. The images are a bit soft and lacking in detail, and dynamic range could be better, but that's all par for the course for a budget ultrawide. In low light conditions, the ultrawide cam struggles to produce usable images, and there's no night mode available to help it out. Video capture from the ultrawide is good for the class, with lively colors. Now we have the macro camera. Its 2-megapixel photos don't have much detail, and the contrast and colors leave more to be desired. And finally, selfies from the 8-megapixel front-facing cam are sharp enough and decent for the price range. So that's the Redmi 12. It's pretty much the same phone as the 2-year-old Redmi 10, and you even lose the stereo speakers. So why go for this one? Well, you do get a larger screen, a fresh design, and updated software and camera processing. And even better, the Redmi 12 is launching with more base storage for cheaper than the Redmi 10 was going for 2 years ago. So overall, while there are competitors that can offer more powerful hardware than the Redmi 12, if you want to save some cash, it could be worth considering. Thanks for watching, guys. If you'd like to check out some alternatives to the Redmi 12, one option is Samsung's Galaxy A14 5G. Or you could have a look at the Realme C55. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.